After having described this samsara vriksha, this world of constant change, this experience of constant change, now Bhagavan takes up the topic of coming out of this samsara, how to come out, how to get liberated. So some instructions are given, important instructions for the spiritual seekers. Narupamasya tathopalabhyate nanto nachavir nacha sampravishtha. Actually speaking, the samsara vriksha, which is rooted in the ego, what is the nature of the ego? Asya rupam na upadabhyate. It is not available. Now rupam has got two meanings. Rupam can mean nature, rupam can also mean form. So its form is not available. The form of this ego around which this world of transmigration is, this form is not available. Why is it not available? Because it is constantly changing. So which form will you say it is this form? Ashvatha it is. That which doesn't remain same, constantly changing. So every time you take birth, the form is different. So when we say rebirth, it is not that the same body comes again and again. Different bodies, depending upon the desires. So which form will you say it is this form? The forms have been constantly changing. So this is one meaning. Another meaning of rupam is nature. The nature of this ego, which is the locus of the samsara vriksha, it is not available. Means what? You cannot determine the nature of this ego. Means what? It is neither real nor unreal. Can you say it is real? You can't say it is real because it doesn't exist. But at the same time, can you say it is unreal, asat? You can't say because it is experienced. That's why the new term is used, mithya. Something which is not there but which is experienced. You can't say it is absolutely unreal like the flowers in the sky. This is a common example here. Or the horns of the rabbit. So that way it is not absolutely unreal. But is it real? When you inquire, you find that it is not real. It is not real also. So then what is it? And we say it is mithya. It's a combination. It's an illusory appearance. When you inquire into the nature of the ego, you come to know there is no such thing. Exactly like the dream world. When you inquire into the nature, you find it is not there. So dream world, we neither say it is real, it is definitely not real. But can you say it is absolutely unreal? No, because during that dream experience, suffering is there, misery is there. Na adi, na anta. It has no beginning. Now, this is a very important instruction given to the seekers. Don't try to find out the beginning of this jiva bhava. You will never find it. Why? Because the beginning is anadi, beginningless. So if you go on cause hunting, you will reach nowhere. So therefore, you need not know your past. Very many times people try to go into their past to come out of some mental problem, etc. They do this regression, etc. So what is the Vedantic opinion about all this? The Vedantic opinion is you need not know your past. Don't try to solve a problem by trying to know the past. It is not needed. In fact, it is terrible. Because we are all evolving in life. So since we are all evolving, how will be our past? Better or worse? Worse. Our past will be worse than our present. So it is better not to go dig the buried past. It will only bring more disturbance. And it is not needed also. And Bhagwan, out of his kindness, has deliberately hidden our past from us. A wheel has been created in our brain. It is for a purpose. So, Namadi. And if you ignore this knowledge, Namanta, there is no end also. Otherwise, there is Anta, definitely. Jiva Bhava is meaningless, no doubt, but you cannot say it is endless. It ends. When does it end? With self-knowledge, it ends. So when it is said Namanta, what is meant here is, it will not end if you don't pay attention to these spiritual practices, this spiritual knowledge. Namanta. Nacha Sampradishtha, it has no support. It is exactly like in the dream. What is the support of the dream world? Can you find one entity which can be said as the support of the dream world? No. Even the time is a dream time. Space is dream space. Everything is dream. Dream means what? It is going to be negated the moment we wake up. So can there be a support in the dream for the dream world? No. So the support of the dream world should be something which is different from the dream, which is other than the dream. So in this world, don't try to find out the support the source of the world. You will not succeed. Yesterday we had discussed this. The scientists are making this mistake. So actually, who is this Sampradishta? The support? The observer is the support. The witness of this world is the support. And this witness, this pure consciousness is what is called as Urdhva Mula, the central root, the primary root. So in the samsara vriksha, externally you are seeing the tree, but there is something which you are not seeing. What are the things which you are not seeing? The support for the world, which is pure consciousness. That is the root. Even the secondary roots also we don't see. What are the secondary roots? Vasanas. That also we don't see. What we see is only this external form, this external world, but deep down there are so many things. That's the beauty of this comparison. Secondary roots are not seen just like vasanas. The support of the tree, the main root is not seen just like consciousness. When you shoot the movie with the camera, in the movie there is one thing which is never seen. What is it? The camera. In the same way, this consciousness, this awareness, this witness can never be objectified. The subject can never become the object. Ashwatthaменam suvirudhamulam. This Ashwatha which is very, very well rooted. So what is the indication? You cannot uproot it. So virudhamulam means what? You cannot uproot it. You cannot uproot it means what? You will not be able to find the source, the origin of this tree. Because this journey has been from beginningless to endless. So then what we have to do? Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. Cut it off. What is the weapon to be used? Asanga shastra. The acts of asanga, detachment, non-attachment. So now this term asanga is a very important term. So we will have to analyze this term. A very important term, a very misunderstood term. So all the aspects we have to understand. So what is this Asanga Shastra? How did we land up into this world? So remember the basics. Vishaya Pravalaha Karma Anubandhini. These terms we have discussed. So what is the mistake we have done? Interacting with the sense objects and then developing liking with the sense objects. The moment you start desiring something, the law of this universe is you will get it. What is the law? The moment you desire, you will get it. Why? Because the desirer is none other than the Lord. Who is Jivatma? Jivatma is none other than Paramatma with wrong notion. No, wrong notion has no value. Just like a lion which has this wrong notion that I am a sheep. Now is it a lion or a sheep? It remains a lion only. How does it matter? Just because a lion has this wrong notion that I am a sheep, it will not become a sheep. In the same way, Paramatma with the wrong notion that I am a Jivatma continues to remain Paramatma alone. Right? So therefore, when the Jivatma is desiring something, desiring a particular sense object, who is desiring it? None other than Paramatma alone. And what is Paramatma? Maya Pati. So when Maya Pati desires something, is it not the responsibility of Maya to provide it? Isn't it? When the husband is asking for a tea, what is the responsibility of wife? To bring tea. So Maya Pati is desiring, so therefore the Maya or this world or this Prakriti will have to provide what the Maya Pati is asking. And that is what is this world. So when I interact with a sense object and when I desire sense object, then what will happen? The law of this nature is whatever you desire, you get it. You get an opportunity to interact with the sense object, to indulge in the sense object. So in order to indulge in the sense object, you need the instruments to indulge. So what are the instruments? BMI, they are the instruments. You must have the sense objects to indulge. So what are those sense objects? O-E-T. In our Gurudev's chart, BMI chart, what is the chart? If you remember, first is O, second one V, standing for vasanas. Third line BMI, body, mind, intellect. In all Gurudev's books you will find this chart and explanation. BMI, body, mind, intellect. Next one PFT, perceiver, feeler, thinker. And the last one OET, objects, emotions, thoughts. So, when you desire something, desire is coming from V, the vasana. You are desiring something. So then what happens? The Prakriti starts giving you the BMI, the instruments to indulge, the instruments to interact. And moreover, the Prakriti gives you OET, the objects, emotions, thoughts, the world of sense objects to interact. And then finally this Jivatma, what does it become? PFT, perceiver, feeler, thinker, in short, experiencer. So this is how we have found the world. We desired something and finally we got a body so that we can fulfill the desire, we can interact with the sense objects, indulge in it and derive pleasure out of it. So this is how each and every one of us, we have found this world. Good word or bad word, it doesn't matter. Right? So, what is the starting point? Desire. Desire for a sense object. So, if you want to put an end to this world, what you should do? Stop desiring. Yes or no? Desiring landed you in this world, so therefore, to put an end to this world or to transcend this world, what should we do? We should put an end to desire. This putting an end to this desire is called asanga. Don't get attached. The intense desire, love, is called attachment. So, the first aid is whenever you are getting attached to anything or anyone, beware. You are asking for samsara. You are asking from cosmic intelligence that I want this, please give me instruments to enjoy this. So then Prakriti will have to give you the world and the instruments. Now the question is, do you want it? If you want it, fine, the game will go on. Na adi, na anta. This is how we have been playing this game for the beginningless past. If you want to continue the game, please. Don't do this. Never do asanga. What you have to do? Sangha. Keep on loving things and beings around. Then this game will continue. New bodies, new experiences, new instruments, new ways of indulging, it will continue. So what is the first thing? Asanga. Never get attached to anything. Right. It is this attachment which is bringing us back to this world. Now a very important question to be discussed, aspect to be discussed is, Saji, what to do if I am addicted to something? What is addiction? Intense attachment to a thing, being, or situation is called addiction. I badly want it, without it I think I cannot live. This is called as addiction. It need not be only drinks and drugs, it can be addiction to person also. There are Sangha, there are intense form of Sangha. Sangha itself can have so many levels. What to do if I have to get rid of an intense Sangha? So see, this world is designed in such a way. Every time you indulge in a sense object, the initial stage is pleasure, but the final stage is pain. This is the nature of this world. Initial stage it is pleasure, joy, agre amrutopamam. In the beginning it is like nectar. But pariname visham, it is like poison. This is the nature of this world. This is the nature of every sense object. Every bhoga, this is the nature. So now when a sense object is in front of you, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the initial pleasure, the superficial pleasure, or are you going to see the final pain, the permanent pain? You ask yourself this question. A sense object is in front. What are you seeing? If the person is seeing only the initial pleasure, understand he is immature and unevolved. What is the definition of an ignorant person, an immature person in the path of spirituality? The one who sees only pleasure is an immature person. But the one who sees the pain, he is not getting carried away by the pleasure, the joy, the initial joy. No, he is seeing the pain. Such a person is called Dhira. In Upanishads, you will find this term again and again. Dhira. Dhira is a courageous person. Dhira means the one who has deep intelligence. Such a person is called a Viveki, the wise person. What is he seeing? He is seeing the truth of that object. So when you see junk food, if you are seeing pleasure of eating, then who are you? You are Adhira. But suppose you are seeing the pain of indulgence, because junk food means what? In the beginning there is joy, in the end there is suffering. But if you are seeing suffering there, you are Viveki, at least in that context. So then what does that Viveka do? It will create Vairagya. True dispassion, true Vairagya is born out of Viveka alone. We don't accept any other Vairagya. It should be Viveka Janita Vairagya. You have clear understanding of what is going to be the consequence when you see a sense object there. Every sense object, the final result is pain. If you are seeing pain, blessed you are. If you are seeing pain, you are the most qualified student for Vedanta. Because such a person who sees pain will not indulge. Isn't it? The common example given is, suppose you are given a glass of milk, sweetened milk, full of badam and this and that, very nourishing. And then somebody says, see, a little bit of poison is also there. Now what happens to that desire to drink the milk? It just disappears, isn't it? What happens? Suddenly it turns to Vairagya. Why? You know the consequence of drinking that milk. You are not seeing the pleasure of drinking milk, you are seeing the end result, death after drinking milk. Suddenly what happens? Desire to drink milk disappears. You see, this is called wisdom. This is all. Hari Om. Hari Om. Yes. So, dispassion born out of knowledge or viveka is a true dispassion. You have no interest because you are seeing pain in it. Your jnana chakshu, it says this object is not the object of joy, it is an object of suffering alone. Such a person is the most qualified. And that is why in Kathopanishad, who is the teacher in Kathopanishad? Lord Yamaraj. And who is the student? Nachiketa. Yamaraj tests Nachiketa. When he asks this question, oh Lord, I have this question in my mind. Is there life after death? So then what does Yamaraj say? Please don't ask this question. I am ready to give you anything. But don't ask this question. It's a very subtle question. You ask anything, long life, I will give you. Children, I will give you. Grandchildren, I will give you. You want to become emperor, that also I will give you. You want wealth, I will give you. Everything I will give you. But please don't ask this. Swarga bhogas I will give you. Apsaras I will give you. You can enjoy. What is the answer of Nachiketa? Sobhavamartyasya yadantataitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti teja api sarvam jeevitamalpameva tavaiva vas tava nritya gite. O Lord, Swabhava, whatever you are offering, there is no, all these are impermanent things. They are all impermanent. Today it is there, tomorrow it is not there. I don't want such impermanent things. And these bhogas, etc., which you are offering, apsaras and this and that, sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha, all the body and the vitalities of the body, they are drained by such pleasures. What are you offering? Api sarvam jeevitam alpameva. You are saying long life. How long? Even Brahmaji, crores and crores of years of lifespan, even he feels that that life is short. So therefore, your dance and music, you keep it with yourself. This is what Nachiketa says. And there Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Nachiketa remained undisturbed, untempted by all these offers. Like an ocean, it is said. When the rivers enter into ocean, what is the state of ocean? Undisturbed. So that is why Bhagavan Shankaracharya, while writing commentary for Kathopanishad, this is the only commentary where Bhagavan Shankaracharya is offering prostrations to the student also. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidyacharyaya Nachiketasecha. My prostrations unto this teacher of spiritual knowledge, Yamaraj, and my prostrations to this wonderful student, ideal student of Vedanta, is Nachiketa. Bhagavan Shankaracharya offers prostration. What is the reason for this prostration? This. How clear he is. In this world, there is only pain. This clarity. For a person, then Yamaraj says, Nachiketa, this, the kingdom of self, this gate for this kingdom of immortality is wide open for you. Even before giving knowledge, Yamaraj says, you have got it. Because you have all qualifications in full mission. So this is called Vairagya. When a sense object is in front, what are you seeing? Are you seeing joy of indulgence or are you seeing pain after indulgence? So these are the things we have to test ourselves. So, when a sense object is dancing in front of us, what are you seeing? If you are seeing pleasure, your mind will go there. You can't stop the mind. But if you are seeing pain, you will find that your mind will not go there. Now, a very important question is how to develop this vairagya. We understand, theoretically we understand, but the problem is in front of the sense object, I become helpless. I lose all my control. I yield to temptation. So, the question is how to develop this vairagya. So, the technique to develop the vairagya is educate the mind. It is the mind which is wandering, educate the mind. How to educate the mind? Go through experience. So what will be the experience? Initial pleasure and final pain. So now, when the initial pleasure is there, fine. After that there is pain. Don't allow the mind to distract itself from pain. Don't allow the mind to escape from the experience of pain. This is the way. Let the mind experience pain. For example, just before you have eaten, now you are feeling heaviness, misery, there is pain, there is burning sensation. Sit quietly and observe the pain. Generally, what do we do? Immediately take out the mobile phone, see something. Switch on the TV. Now what are you doing? You are escaping. The mind is not experiencing pain now. The mind is trying to escape the pain and it is busy seeing something, enjoying something else. Now what has the mind done? It has enjoyed the pleasure, but now it is escaping the pain. So next time when the same junk food comes, what will the mind say? The mind will say it is pleasurable. Because it has not learned. It has not gone through the experience of pain. So this is how vairagya is developed. When the mind is suffering, allow the mind to suffer. Consciously suffer. Let there be total awareness when that suffering is there. Then what happens? The mind is educated. What is education? This thing is nothing but suffering. And then next time when that object comes, what will the mind say? The mind will not say it is a pleasure, it will say it is pain only. This is the way. Suppose there is a cow, it is coming and you have a grass, green grass, it will come running. So when that cow is eating grass, keep on solid thrashing. The cow will run away. Next day when the cow comes, you show the green grass. Will the cow come near you? Why? It is not seeing the joy of eating, it is seeing the pain of beating. Yes or no? Mind is also like that. This is the way to train the mind. So whatever our weaknesses are, go through that suffering. Consciously go through that suffering. Don't escape that suffering. Then you will find mind becomes rich in vairagya, in dispassion. This is how we have to develop disinterest. We are talking of asanga, don't forget this. Asanga shastra has to be developed. So what is the sign of a mind which is rich in this asanga shastra? Such a mind will not get attached to the world. So what is the benefit of having this asanga shastra? At the seat of meditation, the mind stops wandering. Why does the mind wander? Mind wanders because it sees pleasure in the world. It sees joy in the world. It sees security in the world. That's why the mind is going there. But when you educate the mind regarding the hollowness of the world, such a mind will not have any kind of interest in the world. And how does that disinterest in the world express itself? That disinterest expresses itself as non wandering. Right. Now, let us discuss another aspect regarding asanga. This asanga term is a very dangerous term if wrongly handled. What is the danger? See, very many times, asanga means what? Non-attachment, isn't it? The beginners of spirituality, when they come and listen to these talks, etc., suddenly they are possessed with some kind of notion about this detachment, and then what do they do? So they have a loving family, their wife, children, etc. They listen to all this Asanga Shastra, Asanga Shastra. Now what does the fellow go and do? From today onwards, I should not get attached to any of my children or wife, etc. Then that wife comes running to the Swamiji. Swamiji, what have you done? You have spoiled our family life. Earlier this fellow was so loving, so sweet, etc. Now he is absolutely not concerned about us. He doesn't care about us. It's all after your satsang. I don't know whether it is satsang or dussang. That lady comes and scolds the Swamiji. And the spirituality. Please understand, when we say Asanga Shastra, no doubt it is detachment, it is a healthy detachment. That term has to be added. What do you mean healthy detachment? So that means there is something called unhealthy detachment also? Yes. This example is what is called as unhealthy detachment. What is unhealthy? I don't care attitude. You are detached, no doubt, but there is a total indifference to the near and dear ones. This is called as unhealthy detachment. Very dangerous. And very many people fall into this trap. Especially the beginners who have no idea about all this. When they enter into spirituality, this is the first mistake they do. They start practicing unhealthy detachment and they think this is the real detachment. So what is healthy detachment? Healthy detachment is, there is love but there is no attachment. So you are with your family members, you have your wife, your children, etc. You continue loving them. You are concerned about them. You are taking care of them. You are sacrificing for them, etc. Right, but you are not attached to them. Love is there, but attachment is not there. What is the difference between love and attachment? Because of your love, when your intellect gets paralyzed, that is called as attachment. When you are unable to think because of your attachment, that is called as attachment. You understand? You love somebody so much that you are ready to compromise with any higher principles of life, then that is called as attachment. So what does the attachment make you do? It makes you compromise with the higher values of life. You are ready to walk the path of unrighteousness for the sake of your beloved, then that is attachment. You are ready to forget God for the sake of your beloved, then that is attachment. You see? Attachment paralyzes your intellect. You become biased towards the person whom you love. Then that is attachment. What is the best example of love without attachment? The best example is our own Bhagavan Sri Ramachandraji. He had tremendous love for Sita Mata. As a husband, he was loving his wife. But when it came to what? Duty, there was no compromise. Very many people have objection regarding Bhagavan's, abandoning Sita Mata when she was pregnant, listening to some, what do you call that? Complaint from some dhobi or whatever. Very many people are not able to understand the greatness of the Lord, the greatness of that decision. You see, when you are a servant of a master, how can you be an ideal servant when there is something which disturbs the master because of your behavior? So what you should do, immediately you must correct your behavior, isn't it, as a servant? Because my job is to serve my master 100%. I should not, because of my behavior, because of my action, I should not disturb, create any kind of inconvenience to my master. Such a servant is an ideal servant, yes or no? We are talking of perfection, 100% perfection. Because Bhagavan is an embodiment of God, so we expect 100%, not 99.99. Now, who is Bhagavan? What is the role he has taken? He has taken the role of a king. Who is a king? King is the one who is there to serve the people. So, actually, who is a king? He is supposed to be an ideal servant of the people. So, as an ideal servant, what is his responsibility? To serve the people 100%, not to create any kind of disturbance in their mind, not to disobey them. Yes or no? As a perfect servant. So when he found that people have this kind of doubt in their mind, so what did he do? It is immaterial whether that doubt is, as far as Bhagavan is concerned, he was very clear. Sita Mata was 100% pure because of all that Agni Pariksha. He knew it even without Agni Pariksha also. His love was also complete. He had never any doubt. But what was his role? His role was to serve the master, which is nothing but the public. So that role he was fulfilling to the best of his ability. Now here you will find that Bhagavan has love for Sita Mata, but at the same time there was no attachment. A person with attachment, what he would have done in the same place? He said, no. So he will find excuses after excuses in order to be with his beloved. And this is what we see in the society also. The politician, he wants his son or daughter to be the next chief. What is that? It is nothing but Sangha. The efficient person should become the head of an organization, the head of a political party, the head of any institution. The efficient person should become. But now I am so attached to my son or daughter, etc., that I want my son to become the head. What is this? This is called as unhealthy. Of course, attachment is always unhealthy. Unhealthy love is called attachment. This is what is called as Sangha. When I am not able to think. Nowadays that is called as nepotism. In all fields they find. I am so attached to my child that I want my child to occupy the higher post, even though that person may not be very efficient. They are all the effects of Sangha. So Bhagavan Ramachandraji was saying that perfection, love is there, but there is no attachment. And now see the end result of this action. Bhagavan abandoned Sita Mata, but you see the expression of that love. Where did he abandon her? Near Valmiki's ashram. Now this is the expression of love. Sita Mata should not get affected by this decision. I am thinking of the welfare and well-being of the other person. So where was she left? Not in some forest. Near Valmiki's ashram. So then what happened? So Sita Mata got the opportunity to live in that Gurukula. Which is that ashram? Valmiki's ashram. So what happened? Children got a wonderful exposure. In the Gurukula, children started growing. And who is the teacher? Valmiki Rishi himself is a teacher. What greater, blessings can you ask for one's own children? The very birth itself, under the guidance, under the protection of such a great Rishi. So Sita Mata is also protected, and the children also grow up with all values. See? So on one side, beautifully that duty, Bhagavan blessed. On the other side, everyone is blessed. See, this is called as perfection. You are loving the other person, but you are not attached. You are not compromising with any values. You are serving them, you are loving them, you are concerned for them, you are sacrificing for them. At the same time, there is no attachment. This is called asanga. Not running away from family, responsibility, etc. in the name of asanga. That is unhealthy detachment. Remember, a person who is practicing unhealthy detachment will never know spirituality. Spirituality is not the path for the escapists. This is called as escapism. Spirituality is not the path of the escapists. You have to face the challenges of life. The Lord has given a particular environment for you for your own growth. If you escape from it, then you are the loser. So this aspect of asanga has to be understood. So asanga shastrena dridhena chitva means what? Be wherever you are, fulfill all your family responsibilities. The other person doesn't even know that you have asanga. That's the beauty of asanga. What does the other person feel? Oh, my father loves me so much, the child will say. He's so much concerned about me, he loves me so much. But the father alone knows that it is not attachment, it is attachment. So, asanga is not something to be shown, it is something to be known. Asanga is not something to be shown. It is something to be known. You know it subjectively. Other person has no idea of it. What is in your mind? When you are playing with your child with a teddy bear, the child feels that father is also happy playing with a teddy bear. Just like I am happy, father is also enjoying teddy bear. But what is the feeling of father? He is playing, no doubt. But deep down, what is his attitude towards this teddy bear? Absolute asanga. This is how we have to live in this world. The outer world has no idea at all what is happening inside. This is called as healthy attachment. Right? Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. So what is the state of the mind? The mind is not deriving any pleasure from the world, any joy from the world. Every sense object is joyless. This is called as asanga. But a very important question comes, is it possible to practice? This particular aspect is not, it cannot be practiced unless simultaneously another aspect is taken care. And what is that another aspect? We come to know in the next verse. Let us chant verse number 4. Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyah तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी. Yes. Tatah, after that, tat padam parimargitavyam. You must inquire into that state. What is that state? Yasmin gata, attaining which na nivartanti bhuyah. Attaining which there is no coming back. That state one has to inquire. Means what? On one side you have to withdraw the mind from the world, you will have to cultivate vairagya towards the world, disinterest towards the world. Simultaneously what you have to do, turn the attention of the mind to that state. Tat padam. What is that padam? That consciousness. We have discussed yesterday. What is the nature of that consciousness? Satchit Anand. It is absolute perfection. So as you are withdrawing from the world, the mind is being withdrawn from the world, this mind should be directed towards Tat Padam, that Urdhva Moolam, that Sampradishta, that ultimate truth. Mind has to be directed. Together it has to happen. It is not that I have vairagya, but my mind doesn't go there. Impossible. Mind craves for happiness. So, on one side you have stopped the mind from indulging in the world, and thus you have denied the happiness of the world. So, naturally, mind will crave for happiness. What you have to do? Turn the mind to that higher. And that higher, what is the nature of that higher state? Ananda Sarupa it is. Absolute bliss. So, this is one of the biggest mistakes all spiritual seekers are doing. What do? They try to practice vairagya without exposing the mind to that ananda. It will not work. Mind craves for happiness, you will have to give the higher happiness to the mind. Only then the mind will be able to drop the lower pressures of the world. Expecting the mind to drop the lower pressures without exposing the mind to the higher happiness, will it work? It will not work. This technique is called suppression. What is suppression? You suppress the mind from going from the world, going into the world, but you are not exposing the mind to the higher joys of life. It will not work. Simultaneously both have to be done. The mind craves for pleasure, the mind craves for happiness, the mind has to be exposed to the higher happiness of life. What are the higher joys of life? The joy of meditation, the joy of devotion, the joy of selfless service. Now these are all the higher joys. When the mind is exposed to the higher joys, it will automatically drop the addiction for the lower pleasures. This is the way the mind has to be treated. This is the way the mind has to be handled. So this technique is called the technique of sublimation. So in spirituality we don't talk about suppression, we talk about sublimation. What is sublimation? Exposing the mind to the higher joys of life so that mind becomes free from the lower addictions of the world. This is the way. This is the healthy way. Any other technique will not work. Exactly like when you climb the rope, what do? First hold on to the higher, drop the lower. Hold on to the higher, drop the lower. Hold on, isn't it? Hold on to the higher, then drop the lower. It is possible. No, I drop the lower before holding on. No, you won't. You will just fall down. That's all. You will fall down. See, expose the mind to the higher joys. The mind will, hey, I am getting greater joy here. It is natural. In a place you are getting 1,000 units of happiness. Another place only 10 units of happiness. Where will the mind go? It will happily drop the lower to gain the higher. So this aspect has to be kept in mind while practicing vairagyam, while practicing dispassion. Otherwise the mind will not show disinterest towards the world. Suppose you are not giving the higher joy, you want the mind to stop indulging in the lower pleasure. It just won't work. The mind will say, okay, actually that I am not getting, at least this I am getting. So what happens when you suppress? Maybe few days, then the mind will burst out. It will be like a pressure cooker. So pressure cooker means what? You are not exposing the mind to the higher joy. So tataf padam tat parimargitavyam. Immediately after asanga, see the term. Tat padam parimargitavyam. Turn your attention there. Because the mind will not remain quiet. It will crave for happiness. Immediately turn to that. There what you get? Infinite bliss. Ananda Swarupa it is. Tatah padam tat parimaritravyam. Now see the definition of this tat padam. Yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyah. Attaining which there is no coming back. Coming back means what? Coming back to the world. Taking up a body. Punarapi janana. There is no janana. Why? Reaching there is no coming back. Why? Reaching there means mind is now experiencing infinite joy, absolute contentment and fulfillment. Now such a mind which is completely fulfilled, will there be any desire for such a mind? That mind has become desireless. So such a desireless mind need not come to this world. Isn't it? Why should it come to this world? There is no desire. We come to this world to fulfill a particular desire. When the mind has no desire, there is no coming back to this world also. So what happens when the mind abides in the self? The mind becomes desireless. Why does the mind become desireless? Because it gains the highest joy. Why does it gain the highest joy? Because the nature of the self is Ananda Swarupa. When the mind abides in the self, there is desirelessness. And this desirelessness ensures your birthlessness. So now, at the seat of meditation, there are two things to be done. What are the two things? Number one, withdrawal of the mind from the world. Number two, fixing the mind upon the self. What is the nature of the self? It is consciousness. So at the seat of meditation, shifting the attention to consciousness. This is what you have to do. Asanga shastrena dhriyena chitva. So when you sit with your closed eyes, there will be two entities you will find. What are the two entities? The consciousness, which is the observer, and the thoughts, which are the observer. So you are aware of the thoughts. This is the starting point of meditation. You close your eyes, you see the thoughts. So if you have Asanga Shastra, what kind of Asanga Shastra is needed? Drudhena Chitva. Remember, Shastra is like an axe. So what ensures your quick cutting of axe, cutting of the tree? It has to be sharp, yes or no? And there has to be force. So the sharpness, how do you sharpen the axe? They rub it against some stone, isn't it? So Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, rub that axe against the stone of Viveka and thus sharpen it. Sharp axe means what? Clear understanding. This is pain. It is called sharpness. And the force, what is that force? The force is the intense desire for liberation. That is the force. Intense desire. And once struck, this will not cut. You have to keep on doing it. Isn't it? That is called as abhyasa. So abhyasa plus Tivra Mukshutva plus what do you call it? Sharp Viveka. All these things will ensure the easy cutting of the tree. So at the seat of meditation, thoughts are there now. You will see thoughts girding up. Generally these thoughts are all worldly thoughts. Left to itself, the mind will entertain only worldly thoughts. So when you sit at the seat of meditation, thoughts are coming. If you are attached to the thoughts, worldly thoughts, if asanga is not there, what will happen? You will get carried away by the thoughts. The law at the seat of meditation is identify the thoughts and the thoughts multiply. Witness the thoughts and the thoughts life becomes more and more disidentified. Witness the thoughts and the thoughts die. This is the law. So you are witnessing your thoughts. Thoughts are nothing but worldly thoughts. Worldly thoughts means what? People whom you like, people whom you dislike, so many happenings which have affected you. So such thoughts are coming. So if there is sangha, what will happen? You will get carried away with those thoughts. So this obstacle at the seat of meditation is called vikshepa, wandering mind. So what is the solution for this? Asanga shastrena vidhena chitto. The moment you find that you are getting attached to something, stop it. How to stop? Find the end result. What is the end result? Pain. This is nothing but pain. This attachment is nothing but pain. This way. Right. But at the same time, as you are watching these thoughts, let it come and go. Don't worry about these thoughts. Just like you are watching the river flowing. You are just watching. Slowly the thoughts die down. Only the important thoughts remain. There you have to use Asanga Shastra. First few minutes, it will just blabber. Let it blabber. Allow it. Don't do anything. Just remain silent, relax. That's how it is. When you come from the world, some impressions are there. It takes time for dying down. Let it die down. 5-10 minutes, slowly the mind becomes quiet. Then something which is really disturbing, it starts gurgling. There you have to use all these Shastra. They want you to shift your attention to consciousness. Take awareness in you. This is what is called as Tatah Padam Tat Parimargitavya. That Padam in you, the consciousness in you. So it is expressed as witnessing the thoughts. What do you mean witnessing the thoughts? Remaining rooted in the witness of the thoughts. It's called witnessing the thoughts. What is that witness? Consciousness is the witness. If your meditation is going on successfully, what will happen to the thoughts? It will start dying down. Finally, what happens? Thoughts are not there. If you don't show any interest in the thoughts the mind is bringing in, mind will say, "Hey, all I am bringing, but this fellow is not interested at all." So he will stop bringing thoughts. This is psychology. It is just like you are talking, somebody is talking to you. You are not listening to that person. Will you continue his talk? You say anything. The person is there and he is talking. I suppose you listen. Hey, that part, like that happened. Then he will start adding more and more masalas. Yes or no? In the same way, when the mind is making thoughts, if you start showing interest in it, it will continue. But if you witness as though you have no interest at all, then the mind says, "Oh, this fellow is not interested, better be quiet." So as the mind becomes quiet, what happens? You start experiencing consciousness more and more clearly, because the disturbing obstacle is the mind. Mind is becoming quiet. As the mind becomes quiet, what remains then? Only the witness remains. The witnessing consciousness remains. So you start experiencing the properties of consciousness more and more. What are the properties of consciousness? Sat, Chit, Anand. The property of consciousness is bliss. So if your meditation is succeeding, progressing, what should happen to the bliss aspect of your experience? It should intensify. It should grow. That is the meaning. You are experiencing consciousness in fuller measure. Your attention to this consciousness, which is also called as abidance in consciousness. So with greater abidance, there is greater joy. So what is the proof that meditation is progressing? The joy element increases. These are all the indications. Right. attached to the world, what will happen? The mind will not be able to detach itself from the world and turn to them. It will get stuck in the world. And what will happen? You will not be able to experience that bliss. Now remember, is the joy of meditation a conscious experience or an inert experience? It has to be conscious experience. Now this is very important because many times at the seat of meditation, you experience something and come out, you really don't know whether you meditated or you slept. This is a question which people ask. Swami, I'm not sure whether I meditated or I slept, or it is something in between. Is it possible? If you have this question, no, for sure it is sleeping only. Why? Why? The proof of successful meditation is chit aspect should be there. What is chit? Knowing, being aware, being conscious. So you cannot say, no, I meditated unconsciously. Right? Unconscious meditation is what is called as sleep. You may give beautiful names, etc., but it is nothing but sleep. If chit aspect is missing, you are sleeping. If awareness aspect is missing, you are sleeping. Remember, bliss will be there. Why bliss? Because in sleep, the ego is not there and therefore bliss is there. The ego is the one which is a blister, which prevents you from experiencing bliss. So the bliss which you are experiencing in sleep is not the bliss of consciousness, it is the bliss of absence of ego. People misunderstand this to be the bliss of self. When the ego is not there, there is joy. Because all the troublemaker is this ego only. So when the troublemaker is not there, there is an absence of pain, which we misunderstand as bliss. So remember, successful meditation is joyful, it is a state of conscious joy. You are aware. Awareness is intense. Intense meditation necessarily implies intense awareness. Necessarily implies intense bliss. So you are conscious of bliss. You are conscious of your existence as bliss. That's called as Sat-Chit. What is happening in sleep? You are not aware of your existence. What is happening in meditation? There is awareness that you exist and you blissfully exist. You are aware. Are you able to understand? This is called as abidance in the self. All the properties of the self should be experienced. Otherwise, what meditation is? But to experience that bliss, there are certain initial preparations needed. What are those initial preparations? That is what Bhagavad is going to say in the next two lines and the next verse also. So that aspect, it's a big topic. We will take up tomorrow. Jaya Jaya Rama Janaki Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Janaki Rama Raghukula Bhushana Raja Rama Raghukula Bhushana Jaya Jaya Rama Janaki Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Janaki Rama Tapas Ranjana Question answer session. You have to raise your hand. Only if it is more than 10, I am going to entertain that session. How many hands? More than 10 means I will come. Otherwise we will cancel. So Sunday 11 to 12, if you are interested, there can be an informal question answer session. So since no hands are up, maybe few here and there, so let us cancel the session. How many are there? Raise your hands. See, don't tell lies. I remember those who have raised their hand. If you are sure you will come, only then raise. I am recording the faces. Raise. Let me see how many are going to come. How many are there? Count. More than 10? Okay, then fine. So Sunday 11 to 12. Sunday, so that everyone is free. We can have an informal question. So or any question you have regarding spirituality, we will have it here only. 11. Is it okay? Right. Okay.
Hello. Tomorrow is Ashada Shukravara. 6 to 6:30, there will be bhajans and stotrams from our Devi group. Devi group is a wing of Chinmaya Mission, and where the like-minded and spiritually oriented women come together to learn and get trained in bhajans and stotrams by our very well-trained Balasivikas. So they will be singing bhajans and stotrams tomorrow. Please be present between 6 and 6:30. Hari Om.